Okay, well, while we're waiting for a few more to join, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for the second quarterly Friends of DeKalb County Parks meeting. We're super excited to have you all here. And again, thank you for taking the time. We really, really do appreciate it. Um, so for the agenda this evening, for those of you that weren't at the first quarterly meeting, we're going to start with introductions. If you haven't already done so, please add your contact information, what park you're affiliated with, in the chat, so we know that you're here. We're going to show a few of the Earth Day project highlights from this past month that some of the friends groups have done. We're going to look at park maintenance standards and best practices. We'll kind of look at what our maintenance schedule looks like, how that kind of functions for the most part during our landscaping season. We'll show the park rules and ordinances if you're not already familiar with them. We'll take a closer look at work days and projects and how those two things differ. Then we'll look at workday and special event resources, how to access those, who's the best contact to get a hold of when you're wanting to do a workday or a special event. And then we'll follow up with the next couple meeting agendas. So it's just some quick housekeeping. Using the chat and asking questions, please use the icons. Raise your hand located at the top of the screen to discuss any topics and ask any questions. We're going to answer questions at the end of the presentation and during each topic slide. So please wait. We won't be answering questions while we're doing the presentation, just at the end of each slide. So just some quick introductions for those of you that don't know us. I'm Caleb Whitmire. I'm the Green Space Manager for RPCA. I'm joined today by Paige Singer, our Assistant Director, Lauren King Lambert, who is the DeKalb representative for Park Pride, and unfortunately, Maurice Coley, who is our new Division Manager over Park Services, and will be handling most of the maintenance tasks. If you have those kind of questions, he wasn't able to join us today, but he's going to be a fantastic resource to get to all your maintenance needs. So real quick, I did want to highlight a few of the awesome Earth Day projects that went on during Earth Day week. These are just three out of a bunch that happened throughout the Cab County. John Evans Legacy Park hosted an invasive species cleanup. They focused on controlling ivy from some of the trees that had been taking over. So they did a great job controlling the English ivy. I want to give a shout out to them. Dearborn had an invasive cleanup as well at their park. They were targeting English ivy among other invasive species. And Springbrook Park had a garden work day, weeding gardens and prepping all the garden beds for the summer. So super excited, super proud of all of you guys. Thanks for all your hard work out there. So getting into park maintenance. Um, if you're not familiar with our maintenance schedule, we do biweekly park mowing, weed eating, and blowing during landscaping season. Trash is usually collected a minimum of 3 times a week, unless there's a special event. And debris is collected on Mondays, and that is by request. We'll talk a little bit more about how debris gets collected during work days in a different slide. As far as winterization schedule goes, all restrooms, pool houses, water fountains, the water is turned off November 1st through March 1st. If you haven't had a chance, please visit the park rules on the DeKalb County website, um, backslash parks rules. I'm sure you've all seen the sign. If you don't have one at your park, let us know, but you should. We'll make sure everyone's fully aware of the park rules and ordinances in the county. And the all-important beautification form. Hopefully you're all familiar with how this works, but this is kind of your first line of communication when you want to have a project or a workday set up with Park Pride. Please follow this link, fill out the workday form to the best of your ability. If there's anything you need help with, please contact myself or Lauren. We're happy to help you with that, or even come up with ideas for you for work days. But this is where we're gonna enter all the information that we need to capture what you guys are actually going to accomplish, all the goals for the project and workday, and then you can also request a pre-cleanup here. So a workday versus a project. They may seem interchangeable, but they're very different kind of in our eyes. For your normal beautification workday activities, we like to focus those on park cleanups, trash removal, invasive species removal. We do ask that people use hand tools only. We like to limit the amount of herbicide that's used to specialists. Debris removal requests, as I said, please be specific on where those locations are going to be, where you're going to pile the debris from the cleanup. That's super helpful for our crews so they know where to go and pick up everything for you. Um, Workday activities do require internal director approval before they begin. We like to get at least 2 weeks advance notice for all of that. And then at the end of the day, we do like to have a sign-in sheet that's returned to us so we know how we can capture the amount of hours that you folks have put in. We want to make sure we can justify all the hard work that's been doing in the parks. For projects and funds, just some specific examples of what we talk about when we're thinking of larger scale projects, plantings, larger tree planting projects, benches, kiosks, any kind of additional signage. These things all need maintenance plans. They need funding for the most part, raised by donations or grants, however that be. Eagle Scout projects are very specific things that we work with a lot. Projects usually require a project manager to be assigned to them. They require director approval as well, and depending on the cost of the project, they may require Board of Commissioner approval. So we want to make sure we have all those pieces in place before the projects actually move forward. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Paige. We're happy to help you identify potential projects and work with you to make sure your park can be as great as it can be. So what are all the resources that you can get for your work days? As some of you probably know, we have a tool cache at RPCA. You're more than welcome to use that for your work days. Those are on a first come, first served basis. And they're not exhaustive, so we run out occasionally depending on the time of year and when there's a lot of work days going on. We definitely run out of those quickly. So please make sure to get your requests in early. Volunteers should also bring water and gloves, especially during this time of the year. It's about to get really hot, so make sure you're well prepared to be in the field for a long day of work. We like to request that we do the mulch requests. We've ran into many problems over the years with mulch being requested from specific landscapers, and then they continue to dump on our properties when they shouldn't. So it's much easier if those requests come from us. If you're wanting mulch, please let us know. We're happy to find a source for you. And again, just just to reiterate, please specify on the beautification form if trash debris pickup is needed, and we need at least 2 weeks notice to make sure we can get that picked up for you on time. During the winterization, per director's approval, you can also request porta johns if you'd like for an event or a work day. We're happy to do that on a first come first served basis as well. Any volunteer support you need, if you need more manpower for some of your projects, Park Pride is happy to help you with that. They have all the resources available that you can imagine. So please visit their website or ask Lauren if you have any other questions. One other resource that I wanted to kind of throw out there is Keep the Cab Beautiful. If we do run out of tools at our tool cache, we can reach out to them, or groups can reach out to them. They provide trash bags, safety vests, even pick up in some locations. So I think they're a fantastic resource, and I encourage you to reach out to them if you need anything else. For special events, things that fall out of your normal workday or project area, this is kind of a completely separate thing from us. Letta Malone and LaShonda Davis handle most of that. LaShonda handles the special events. Letta handles the pavilion reservations. Their information can be found right here. If you do want to reserve a pavilion, if it's a non-reservable pavilion and connected to community service project, we can certainly help you with that at no charge. If it's a reservable pavilion that we typically do reserve, please go through the normal channels to do that. And for Letta, she's happy to help you. And then for larger special events where you may want to have alcohol or sound, vendors, that kind of thing. There are specific fees associated with that, which is going to make you aware. So please visit the link here. That'll take you to the event application, fill that out, and someone on our staff will be happy to contact you and work through everything you need. So for upcoming meetings, we want to focus the next meeting on grants and funding opportunities. I know this is a big topic for everyone. We want to make sure we have someone from Park Pride there to talk about their specific grants, what upcoming funding opportunities there are, the application timeline and responsibilities, and the Friends of the Park contribution tracking. We make sure we have everything in order for those larger scale projects that do require funding. So look out for that meeting. That's going to take place on August 14th. Our fourth quarterly meeting will be focused on security on November 6th. We'll look at current challenges and concerns that you may have. We'll have someone from law enforcement and our park ranger staff there to answer any questions. They're a fantastic resource. And we'll look for strategies for improving safety, any concerns that you may have, and also tackle homelessness in parks, what the current situation looks like, how we can collaborate with local services and outreach programs, and what some of those long-term solutions and best practices may be. So I know I ran through that super quick, but I want to make sure we have tons of time because I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions. So if you can, please raise your hand virtually, and we can put your question in the chat box too and answer them there. Paige, Lauren, if you have anything else to add that I may have glossed over quickly, please chime in.
I see a question that just came through about distributing this. Yeah, oh, I'm getting feedback. We definitely can send this out. That's why we asked you to drop your emails in the list. So we definitely can send an email, and we're going to post this on our website as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you want to maybe just go back to the first slide and we can see if there's any questions. That's what I was thinking, just kind of open it up and to park maintenance. So winterization is something we get asked about a lot. I'll pause there and then maybe see if there's any questions. I think we talk about winterization because I think the assumption is, we're just turning water off. And why can't we just turn it back on? That's kind of what I get questioned a lot about. So when we winterize, what it is we literally drain from the meter to the toilet or sink or water fountain. So it's more than just turning the water off. So that's why we asked just during those months, just be mindful of that. The pipes are not buried deep enough, and so they are subject to freeze, and that's why we start at the meter all the way into the building. The order that we do is we always start with water fountains first, just to give us enough time to get through the entire system, the park system. So we start with water fountains, then we go through irrigation, and then we wrap up with concessions and restrooms, just because a lot of times our athletic associations go into playoffs. Football is a winter sport. And then the same order, we backtrack it in the spring. So we de-winterize athletic concessions first, and then we go backwards. So I understand that for y'all in the community, you know, the water fountains are the first to be shut off and the last to be turned on. Know that we understand that. It's just there is over 114 parks that go through winterization, and it's just a lot to get through every single year. And it really saves us from having to fix all those pipe bursts when we go into deep freezes. So that's just something, if you're having a work day and you need a restroom during that time, it's always a budget item, but typically Chuck will approve and just giving us enough time to get that porta-john ordered and out for your work day. But like I said, it is a question that I get asked a lot is, you know, why can't we just have the water on just for that day? Like I said, that it's a process. So that's so, and I don't know if there was any questions on that. The other reason we wanted to put the sort of the maintenance schedule in here, and we wanted to introduce you guys to Maurice, is just the way that so y'all know what it is that the park services crews are doing. So, you know, we're really there just to mow, blow, and weed eat. If there's anything sort of specialized outside of that, invasives or landscaping, you know, that's we really do rely on the Friends groups to kind of bring that with the work days. So those are sort of the most requests we get. And then just letting us know the areas that you're working in, then we can make sure that they're aware, you know, to not weed eat the trees that y'all have planted and, you know, to keep the areas open. So we want to work with y'all on that. So that's where we wanted to put the schedule out there and just kind of what we're responsible for on the park services side. So I'll just kind of pause there and just see if there's any questions that we might be able
Paige,
to.
you may have answered. One of the questions came up in the Q&A about how they get on the same page with the maintenance crew about where native plants are so they don't get mowed down. I think you may have just answered that.
Great
We're happy
question.
to
Yeah.
work
So,
with
and again,
that.
that's why we want to have sort of a formal process. Like I said, and I was telling Caleb and Lauren even before that, like we've never denied the plantings. That's what it is we want to work with you to identify the areas. Because we recognize, you know, again, we're here to mow, blow, and weed eat, and really they're not super knowledgeable about plant species. So just working with us that we can identify the area to keep them out of there. And so just letting us know as, you know, as soon as possible so we can have that conversation with the park crew, you know, to stay out of this area. And then that way y'all will know that we've had that conversation. So yes, I know there's been several groups that have been successful in that. And also same thing with trees. I know when you get saplings, you know, another thing is those don't look like trees to the crews. I'll just be honest, you know, that's not what they're thinking. We've got those big wing mowers and they're not seeing a lot in front of them. So just to have those areas identified and the spacing so that we can get mowers through. And again, we're here to work with you on those types of things. To me, the best thing to do is heavy mulch. It's kind of why we have that mulch. You know, we can talk to our tree vendors about leaving mulch on site when trees come down, and then you can use those, you know, wood chips to plant around trees. And that's a big sign to them. And we can help you identify some ways to keep them out of those areas that y'all have planted. It's a great question.
Yeah, and then a follow-up to that is could those conversations be in person so, you know, we can have a
Yes.
chance to have someone from our crew get an eyes on it, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Happy
Yes.
to have those. Another question came in about borrowing tools because typically tool pickup is during the week, but for weekend events or evening events, is there a way for folks to get tools?
We have done that in the past. We do because we do have crews working on the weekends. And we have I know P Ridge is just in my mind as an example that we had delivered like pine straw on a Saturday morning. So yes, anything is possible. Just make sure to get with Lauren and make it very clear, and then we can leave a list of things to be delivered the morning of the workday. This should not be a problem. Just communication. So just to make sure that the right people know what needs to go out, and then we can have the crew drop off, and they literally will just drop and go. So just know that. But yes, that's definitely possible because I do understand, you know, people do work during the week. So you want to maybe just move to what is the next slide, the form.
Sure.
I don't think there should be too many questions just on the form itself. I will say this, I do get questions. I know not everybody has like a scanner. Just take a picture of the form and attach it. It doesn't need to be so I know that I run into that a lot where everybody's like, I don't, have a scanner way to scan it in. Just, take a picture of it, shoot us an email, just so, again, it's so we know you're in the park. That's really all it is just a notification of, hey, we're going to be there this day, just so that things aren't missed. So, no, you don't need to be super worry about that, super official about getting it scanned back to us. Just take a picture or just email, hey, we're going to do a work day. And we're fine with that. It's really just a notification. I don't know if there's any other questions about the form.
See any?
And then I don't know if we really talked about, we put an example of a master plan. That's, I think, always our first question, especially when it comes to projects, is was it in the master plan? That's just something I think that helps us identify, especially because it really sets you up if you're looking for a small change grant or something like that to help with the project. So again, just a way to sort of make a more successful project for you in the park. So that we can work, with you. And again, the same thing with the sign-in sheets, with the work days, as we sort of move forward into grants and sort of streamlining the process, is looking for those work days in order to keep moving through the grant making process. I think that's going to become key for us, in terms of the funds, is for that. So to me, that's important. And then Eagle Scouts, because again, I know that's a complement to a lot of the projects, is that they can tackle, and again, just knowing, because sometimes we can actually help fund those. We have done that in the past where maybe we're buying material for the kiosk or a bench or something like that. So again, it's helping us work together so we can get a bigger benefit for the park. Those are just some things that come to mind. So it's a very low threshold. I think people are a little surprised to hear when it needs VOC approval. So anything that goes in a park that's valued over $1,000 requires Board of Commissioner approval. That's legislative. So I know that's a very small amount, but that is the requirement. So again, just the sooner you let us know, we can work that through the process in order to do that. But anything of value of 1,000 or over does require BOC process. And again, it's not to hold everybody up. I think a lot of people look at it. It's really not. Again, it's just we can leverage those dollars in other ways. And so in order for us to be a part of that, I think we can just help you in the long run. Are there any questions about that? And if it is, you don't really know, like, is this a project or just a work day, just let us know and we'll help you determine which. So I'm seeing something come through the chat now. If they're standing work, no, you don't need a separate form if you have standing work days. Just let us know and we'll load up the calendar. Yeah, no, you don't need to do one for every single, because I know a lot of you do routine work days. No, you don't need to do a separate one. Now you need a separate sign-in sheet, but you don't need a separate form. But great question, because I know a lot of you do regular routine work days. WD Thompson, I'm not sure if we had any representative. They did a whole stream restoration, reforestation. They had everything lined up. So even though it kind of overlapped between project and workday, we met with them. They presented the plan. They took it on. They, a lot of y'all I know kind of attach onto things. So no, we definitely can work with you to get your project through the workday as well. It's not a problem. I feel like we need to start a mentor program within the Friends group. That might be next year. I know we've tackled a lot in 2025, but maybe in 2026 we need to do a mentor program. We were talking the other day at our Monday meeting about creating a template of Eagle Scout projects, because I feel like they get repetitive and it might be helpful to put out a template as to what other groups have used through the years. So that's something I want to try to tackle in 2026 as well. So, all right, next slide, if there's no more questions. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory because we kind of touched on it. And the DeKalb, I know we've kind of gone back and forth. Those of y'all that have been with us for a while, in the beginning, Keep DeKalb Beautiful was supporting us more on work days, and then they kind of backed off a little bit, but it seems to be re-energized again. So that's something to be mindful of. We had seen that highlighted just a couple weeks ago, that they had supported an event at Barker Bryant. And the other thing about debris is, if you need assistance, because we can't, if you find tires, that's, separate piles and all that. So that's why we're kind of, I know we talk about debris piles a lot, but there's a lot to that. And just where you put it so that our trucks can get into it. We have a lot of parks where our equipment can't get in. So that's why we're kind of weird about that, and weird about that in fence. So anyway, so that's where,
It helps to be as specific as you can, and
yeah, yeah.
we can work with you to find a good solution.
So there's a question, Keep DeKalb Beautiful. I can't speak for them. I saw the same thing. I don't know if they've renamed themselves or not. I can't speak to that. I'm not sure. Maybe. Stay tuned. And then we just get asked so much about special events just because I think you all know us so well. So that's what we just wanted to provide this information, so that y'all know. Usually I'll forward the email to Roletta and LaShonda and copy Chuck. And we can kind of pause because I'm still learning about police and off-duty officers. So because Caleb had done the presentation. So $35 is the negotiated rate. So basically how it works is they kind of put out to the police officers. But if you offer more, you're going to have a higher chance of having a police officer. So that's why I put the word negotiate. I know that's super weird. I'm learning that myself. So that's kind of the agreed upon rate, but just know that you're up against other events that might be offering more money. So do make note of that. I've just learned this recently. And then the rest of these I think are pretty standard, and Verletta and LaShonda know the permits like the back of their hand. So that's why we just make sure y'all know who to go to. And was everybody clear on the pavilion reservations? Because I know a lot of y'all, if you're in parks that don't have reservable shelters, but we do reserve them for y'all. So I hope you guys know that. So what I told Verletta is if she has a friends group that reach out to her, that, we can go ahead and get that reserved. Because I think most of the friends groups parks don't have reservable shelters. Very quiet group tonight. And we're also still open to other topics. So I know our first meeting was more of a just to kind of get to know you session, kind of back to basics, while we're doing the quarterly meetings. And this is kind of what we had come up with. And then again, even kind of throwing out some things in 2026. But if there's other questions or topics that y'all would want us to cover, we can. And then we were kind of bouncing back and forth between virtual and person. So maybe next one we just need to do all in person, because it did get a bit confusing for those of you that were at the last one. We did a hybrid. Okay, so I did have one, let's see, website design. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Like social media. I like that. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely
building
add
a
some
board
people
as
in.
well. Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah. What do y'all think about doing like a mentor program? I feel like, I don't know, because I feel like we know y'all, but y'all might not know where, because I think each group will, you guys excel in more than one. I don't want to say that, but we could, if there's an area, we could maybe target you to a group that's excelled in that area. What is everybody's thoughts about that? Crickets again. Mentorships and training would be great. Okay. Okay. I think so. Cause like I said, you all have, everybody has it in their wheelhouse. I think so. I think sharing across the board might be
Yeah,
really
and I
great.
think that was kind of the initial idea of
Yeah.
the park tours, but this takes it to another level. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe between the next two meetings, we can list if you're interested in being a mentor. I'm not going to force things on you, or if you're interested in being a mentee. And then we can kind of pair. How does that sound? Mentor mentees. Okay. So Okay, more about processes. Yes, we did talk about from Erica about more how, and I do think maybe, well, maybe that's our first session in 2025 is talking about capital. Um, I could talk all night about projects and funds, but yeah, we definitely need to work that in about projects because well, maybe I don't know. I think that might, I don't want to overrun grants. It is tied to grants. So maybe we can scratch the surface a little bit at the next meeting and then maybe do a whole meeting in 2026. Okay. Think we could work that in.
Absolutely.
Anything else? How do we schedule initial site visits? So you filled out the beautification form? Is that
Yes, Mr. Benson's with
Okay.
Gresham Park.
okay? So we can schedule, we'll just follow up with you after this. Do we have, I just need an email or a phone number, both? I think seeing things in person is essential, so we would be more than happy to do a site visit.
I see a question in the Q&A about leadership transition. Park Pride has done a little bit of talking about that, but I think that's something they're interested in.
Leadership transition within the group itself.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know if Park Pride has an official process.
That's
Not
right.
really. Yeah. I mean, we definitely want to work with groups. I think you're looking at two. I think if you have a group where the chair, you know, either moves out of the area or or I think because to just be honest, or there's another situation where maybe not everybody's in agreement. So I think there's a difference to me. That's where I would want to start is why are we changing leadership? And then I think we can help guide you through next steps. If it's just the person is moving out of the area, whatever, then we I mean it's really within just Park Pride to get a new facilitator, new chair. If it's the latter, then we do just kind of have some series of meetings to try to jump back, to try to get everybody to start to communicate, try to figure out, where the challenges are. So know that we've dealt with both. And I think we've been successful in both areas. So, and also know that we have groups where maybe the energy, because it is time consuming. We do know that, what y'all are doing is it's volunteer and you have full-time jobs again. So I think we can maybe also maybe I don't know, to me it's more of it's your friends group, right? So maybe a better way to sort of delegate, get more involvement from other volunteers. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed as well, we can work through that. So there's a question about so we are just working in unincorporated DeKalb County parks. So anything outside of that, you would need to speak with whoever the property owner is. So yes, the funds that we have with Park Pride and vice versa would only be able to be spent in unincorporated DeKalb. In terms of being a registered group and a registered group, non-group is it does affect funding. So if you apply for a Park Pride grant, I do believe that one of the criteria is to be a registered friends group. But in order to get capital funds from the department, that's, we can work with you to try to figure out how to gauge that. So Park Pride is one of the main reasons we engage with them, contract with them, is because of the fiscal sponsorship. So from Park Pride, because they are a nonprofit. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah. And I think some of these, if they're targeted towards certain questions for your group, we can talk with y'all offline. Try to keep these more general. So do know, I think some of these are geared towards specific groups. So we'll follow up with you guys in an email. Gwen, I see your comment. Thank you for that. I try to, we try to streamline. They're a much larger department though, so I do feel for them.
Any other questions? I mean, we're always happy to answer questions that anyone has, and you're always welcome to reach out directly to any of us. If you don't feel like we've we've answered your question here, our doors are always open.
And what, you want to go back to the original one that had our emails, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. And please know we're all in the same building. So that's the other thing. Like if you send something to me and, and I just flip it. So just know you're not bugging any of us. If you put all of us on the email, it's going to get into the right hands. Please know that if you call our main number, that's why I put that on there. Leslie will answer. She'll send it over. We'll get it into the right hands. We try to respond to everything and within 24 hours. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer, just depending on what the question is. I will put a plug. Our Citizens Advisory Board meeting is actually Tuesday at Midway Recreation at 6 p.m. If anybody would like to join us, I know we didn't do that on purpose, but I thought that was nice. And then we did want to wrap up. We wanted to share some news about Lauren. So she is going to actually transition as a project manager with DeKalb County. So we are very excited to have her. So she will be becoming a DeKalb County employee on Tuesday, will be her official first day. So we are very impressed with her and very excited to have her as part of our team.
Thank you so much, Paige and Caleb. Very excited about the transition, but it is bittersweet to leave my part. Well, I won't be leaving them completely. I'll be working very closely with them in the office and continue to do so. And I'm helping onboard my successor. So I'm excited to share that information when I have more to share. But yeah, in the meantime, please continue to reach out to me. My phone number and email will still be working up until Tuesday. And then yeah, otherwise my phone number, and I'll share my new email with y'all as well. But yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you, Deontay.
Let's see. There was one more question in the Q&A I just saw. Yes, Caleb's going to get with you on all things path.
Yeah, happy to follow up with you.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll follow up. Well, we'll hang on just a few more seconds if anybody has anything else. Okay, well, I see people are already starting to drop off. I think we'll call
Our
it,
cue.
but yeah. But thank you everybody for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.